The champagne flute slipped from Marcus Whitmore's trembling fingers, shattering against the marble floor of the Ritz-Carlton ballroom, as he watched his own mother embrace his younger brother with tears of joy. "My precious boy," she whispered to Derek, completely ignoring Marcus standing just 3 feet away in his $1,000 tuxedo. The wedding guests, his wedding guests, turned to stare at the mess, then quickly looked away with embarrassed smiles. It was supposed to be the happiest day of his life, but Marcus felt like a ghost at his own wedding. "Sir, let me get that cleaned up," came a gentle voice beside him. Marcus looked down to see an elderly black woman in a hotel uniform, her name tag reading, Dolores Housekeeping. Her warm brown eyes held something Marcus hadn't seen all day, genuine concern for him, not his money. "Thank you," Marcus muttered, stepping back as she swept up the glass. "I'm sorry about the mess." Dolores paused, studying his face. "You don't look like a man who should be apologizing on his wedding day. You look like a man who needs to ask himself why he's marrying someone who lets your family treat you like furniture." Marcus glanced across the room where his bride-to-be, Victoria Ashford, was laughing with his mother and Derek, her diamond engagement ring, worth more than most people's houses, catching the light. Victoria's family had insisted on the union after learning about Marcus's inheritance from his late grandfather's tech empire. What they didn't know was that Marcus had been quietly questioning everything about his life for months. "It's complicated," Marcus said quietly. "Honey," Dolores whispered. "Complicated is what rich folks call it when they're too scared to admit they're being used." Before Marcus could respond, his father's booming voice echoed through the ballroom. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention." Jonathan Whitmore stood at the head table, champagne glass raised. "Today we celebrate not just the union of Marcus and Victoria, but the merger of 2 great families." The crowd applauded politely. Of course, we all know Derek would have been a more suitable match for such a refined young lady, but he chuckled, causing several guests to laugh along. "Well, Marcus has his grandfather's money, and that counts for something." The laughter that followed felt like daggers in Marcus's chest. He'd heard variations of this his entire life. Derek was the charming one, the athletic one, the one their parents actually loved. Marcus was just the inconvenient heir to a fortune he'd never asked for. "That's enough," Dolores said firmly, though quietly enough that only Marcus could hear. "You don't have to take this." "What choice do I have?" Marcus asked, his voice breaking slightly. "This is my family." "Family doesn't humiliate you in public," Dolores replied. "And if that girl over there cared about you, she'd be standing next to you right now, not giggling with the people who just insulted you." Marcus looked again at Victoria, who was now posing for photos with his parents and Derek. She hadn't even noticed the broken glass, the embarrassment, or his absence from the conversation. She was too busy basking in the attention of being a Whitmore, or rather, being connected to Whitmore money. "I need some air," Marcus said suddenly. "Good idea," Dolores nodded. "Sometimes you need to step outside to see things clearly." Marcus slipped out onto the hotel's rooftop terrace, the Chicago skyline glittering before him. The cool October air helped clear his head, but the weight of 28 years of emotional neglect sat heavy on his shoulders. His grandfather, the only family member who'd ever truly loved him, had died 2 years ago, leaving Marcus his entire fortune with one condition. He had to be married by his 30th birthday to inherit it. At the time, it seemed romantic. Now, it felt like a trap. Having second thoughts, Marcus turned to find Dolores had followed him outside. "You should be working," Marcus said, but not unkindly. "I'm on break," she smiled. "Besides, I've been watching your family for the past 3 hours while setting up this reception. I've seen how they treat you. They're not bad people," Marcus said weakly. "Honey, I've worked at this hotel for 15 years. I've seen every kind of family there is. Rich, poor, and everything in between. Love isn't about money or status. It's about respect. And your family doesn't respect you." Marcus felt tears threatening. "My grandfather respected me. He saw something in me that no one else did." What kind of man was he? Brilliant, self-made. He built his company from nothing and never forgot where he came from. Marcus smiled sadly. He used to say that true worth isn't measured by what you inherit, but by what you do with what you're given. Dolores was quiet for a moment. Sounds like a wise man. What do you think he'd say about this wedding? Marcus knew the answer immediately, but it was too painful to voice. His grandfather would have hated everything about today. The superficiality, the family dynamics, the loveless transaction disguised as a marriage. Can I tell you something? Dolores asked gently. I have 4 children, and I raised them to understand one simple truth. You can't control who loves you, but you can control who you let into your life. Your grandfather left you that money for a reason. Maybe it wasn't just to get you married. Maybe it was to give you the power to choose your own family. It's too late, Marcus said. The ceremony is in 30 minutes. All these people, the contracts, Victoria's family. Is any of that worth spending the rest of your life feeling like you do right now? Before Marcus could answer, the terrace door burst open. Derek stumbled out, clearly drunk despite the early hour. There you are, big brother. Derek slurred. Mom's looking for you. Something about pictures with the happy couple. He laughed nastily. Though between you and me, Victoria's been asking an awful lot of questions about the inheritance paperwork. Girls got her priorities straight. What do you mean? Marcus asked. Derek's expression shifted, becoming more cunning. Oh, come on, Marcus. You can't be that naive. Dad and I helped her lawyer review the prenup. Did you actually read it? Because there's some interesting language about asset transfer in case of, let's call them, unforeseen circumstances. Marcus felt ice in his veins. What kind of circumstances? Well, Derek grinned maliciously. Hypothetically speaking, if something were to happen to you after the marriage but before you fully control grandfather's trust. Let's just say Victoria would be very well taken care of. And if she were to remarry into the family afterward, he shrugged. Well, that would keep everything nice and tidy, wouldn't it? The implication hit Marcus like a physical blow. His own family had helped orchestrate not just a loveless marriage, but potentially something far worse. You're lying, Marcus whispered. Am I? Derek pulled out his phone and scrolled through his messages. Here's a text from Dad. Make sure Marcus signs everything before he changes his mind. The family's financial future depends on this merger. And here's one from Victoria's father. Phase 2 begins after the honeymoon. Derek knows the timeline. Dolores stepped protectively closer to Marcus. You need to leave. Right now. I can't just. Yes, you can, she said firmly. Your grandfather's will. Did you read the entire thing yourself? My family's lawyers handled everything. Marcus stopped mid-sentence, realization dawning. Exactly. You've been letting other people control your life for so long. You don't even know what's legally yours. Dolores pulled a business card from her pocket. My daughter is a lawyer specializing in estate law. Call her. Tonight. Derek was still laughing. Oh, this is rich. Are you seriously taking advice from the help? Marcus, you are such a... Shut up, Marcus said quietly, but with a steel in his voice that surprised everyone, including himself. Just shut up. For the first time in his life, Derek actually stopped talking. Marcus looked at Dolores. Your daughter. She can help me understand what I actually inherited. She can help you understand what's rightfully yours and what your family can and can't control. Dolores nodded. But you have to be willing to fight for it. Fight the family? Derek scoffed. Marcus doesn't have the spine for that. He never has. Maybe not the Marcus you know, Dolores said, her eyes never leaving Marcus's face. But people can change when they finally understand their worth. Marcus felt something shift inside him. A door closing on one version of himself and another opening on someone he'd never dared to be. Where's your daughter's office? 20 minutes from here. But Marcus, once you walk away from this, there's no going back. Your family will never forgive you for embarrassing them. Good, Marcus said, surprised by his own conviction. Maybe it's time I stopped caring about their forgiveness and started caring about my own self-respect. Derek's face went pale. You can't be serious. The wedding. can happen without me. Marcus pulled off his wedding ring, the one his grandfather had worn, the one that had never felt right on his finger, and handed it to Derek. Give this to Victoria. Tell her she can keep the engagement ring as compensation for the inconvenience. Dad's going to kill you, Derek warned. Let him try, Marcus said, walking toward the door. For the first time in my life, I have nothing left to lose. As they reached the elevator, Dolores grabbed Marcus's arm. There's something else you should know. I've been working here 15 years, and I've cleaned a lot of hotel rooms. I overheard Victoria on the phone yesterday with someone named James. She was saying how she just had to make it through the ceremony and the honeymoon, and then what? Then she'd be free to marry who she actually wanted, with enough money to last several lifetimes. The elevator doors opened, and Marcus stepped inside with Dolores. As they descended, he felt lighter than he had in years, despite the chaos he was leaving behind. Are you sure about this? Dolores asked gently. Marcus thought about his grandfather's words. True worth isn't measured by what you inherit, but by what you do with what you're given. For the first time, he understood what the old man had meant. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. 3 hours later, Marcus sat in the office of attorney Sarah Williams, Dolores's daughter, as she spread out documents across her desk. Sarah was sharp-eyed and professional, with her mother's same warm but no-nonsense demeanor. This is remarkable, Sarah said, shaking her head. Mr. Whitmore, did you know that your grandfather's will includes a clause that voids the marriage requirement if you can prove your family attempted to defraud you of your inheritance? Marcus's heart pounded. What does that mean? It means your grandfather was a very smart man who suspected your family might try exactly what they're doing. He included protection for you. Sarah pointed to a specific paragraph. Furthermore, the will states that if you choose to distance yourself from family members who don't have your best interests at heart, you gain immediate and full control of the inheritance. No marriage required. How much are we talking about? Sarah's eyes widened as she flipped through the pages. Including the tech company, real estate holdings, investments, and liquid assets. Approximately $2.8 billion. Marcus nearly fell out of his chair. Billion? The family told me it was around 50 million. They lied. Your grandfather's company went public last year. The value increased exponentially. Sarah leaned forward. Marcus, with your permission, I'd like to launch a full investigation into how your family has been managing your grandfather's estate. I suspect what they've done goes beyond deception into criminal territory. Marcus's phone buzzed with text messages, dozens of them from family members, Victoria, and wedding guests. He turned it off without reading them. Do it, he said quietly. All of it. There's one more thing, Sarah said, sliding another document toward him. Your grandfather established a charitable foundation in your name, set to launch when you turned 30 or got married, whichever came first. He wanted you to use your wealth to help people who reminded him of where he came from. People who work hard but need opportunities. Marcus thought about Dolores, cleaning up his broken glass with such dignity and kindness. He thought about all the times his family had made him feel worthless while people like her had shown him more genuine care in a few hours than his blood relatives had in decades. What kind of help? He asked. Scholarships, small business loans, job training programs. Your grandfather wrote a letter explaining his vision. Sarah handed him an envelope sealed with wax. He said you'd understand when the time was right. With shaking hands, Marcus opened the letter and read his grandfather's familiar handwriting. My dear Marcus, if you're reading this, you've finally found the courage to stand up for yourself. I always knew you had it in you, even when you couldn't see it yourself. I made my fortune by believing in people who believed in themselves. You've spent too many years trying to earn love from people who confused wealth with worth. Real family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up for you when you need them most. Use this inheritance to build the family you choose, not the one you were born into. And remember, the greatest fortune isn't what you accumulate, but what you give away to people who truly need it. I'm proud of you for walking away. Now go build something beautiful. Love always, Grandpa William. Marcus wiped away tears. He didn't realize he was crying. How did he know? Smart men often do, Sarah smiled. So, what's your first move as a free man? Marcus thought for a moment. I want to set up a scholarship fund for the children of hotel workers. Starting with Dolores Williams's family. Sarah grinned. A smile so like her mother's it made Marcus's heart warm. I think Grandpa William would approve. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the lobby of the same Ritz-Carlton. But everything was different. He wore a simple black suit instead of designer clothes, and his hair was longer, more relaxed. Most importantly, his smile was real. Mr. Whitmore. Dolores appeared from behind the front desk, her housekeeping uniform replaced by a supervisor's blazer. Look at you. Look at you, Marcus laughed, embracing her warmly. How's the management position? Wonderful. Thanks to someone I know. She beamed. And Sarah tells me you've helped 17 families in the past 6 months. Hotel workers, restaurant staff, cleaners, all getting their kids through college because of your foundation. It's the least I can do, Marcus said. You saved my life that day. You saved your own life, Dolores corrected. I just reminded you that you had choices. Speaking of choices, Marcus said, pulling out an invitation. I'm having a small celebration next month. 1 year since I walked away from the worst decision I almost made. You and Sarah are the guests of honor. Dolores looked at the invitation, confused. What are we celebrating? My real family, Marcus said simply. The one I chose. As he walked toward the elevator, Marcus felt his grandfather's presence like a warm hand on his shoulder. He'd learned that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars, but in the people who cared about your happiness more than your bank account. His biological family had taught him what love wasn't. Dolores and Sarah had shown him what it could be. The elevator doors closed, but Marcus wasn't ascending to escape this time. He was heading up to meet with another hotel employee whose daughter dreamed of medical school. Another chance to turn his grandfather's money into someone else's opportunity. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over, Marcus. We'll contest the will. You owe us. Derek. Marcus smiled and deleted the message without responding. Some battles weren't worth fighting because you'd already won the war by walking away. But late at night, when he was alone in his new apartment, modest by his standards but filled with genuine warmth, Marcus sometimes wondered what other secrets his family had been hiding, and whether his grandfather's sudden death had been as natural as everyone claimed. Those questions would have to wait. For now, he had a real family to build, one act of kindness at a time.